Linda Thompson was a lot of things to Elvis. I mean, Linda was his lover, his friend, and his nurse. I don't know what Elvis would have done without Linda the last few years of his life. Sheila, I believe, was good for Elvis, and I think that he really, really cared about Sheila an awful lot. And why they parted, I really can't say.
You want to be the number one girl, and I was almost there. And going to Graceland, nobody got to go to Graceland unless you were then the number one girl, so I guess Linda got down to the number 2 slot. I don't know if that was her doing. I didn't talk a lot about Linda at all, you know, what happened with them. It wasn't a conversation that happened, you know. I just did what I was told, and when he would talk about marriage, and I just thought it was pretend, you know. I thought the whole thing was pretend. I know Linda wanted to marry him, and my father wanted me to marry him because he was interested in the financial aspects and the fame and all of that, but he wasn't up all night losing sleep and breaking out in hives and watching a man die. You know, what, did I want to marry the man to watch him die? No, I wanted to leave. The first time I turned him down, it was because I had fallen in love with someone else, so I never said no to him. I met the father of my child 1 week, and we spent 5 days together on our first date. And I mean, I was seriously looking for helicopters because, you know, if he couldn't find me, that was never anything that happened. I was always accessible. And I said, I have to go home to deal with this because I know that he's calling every night. And so I went and spent the night at my apartment, and he called at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, you know, you've got your horse at Graceland, and there's no more Linda, it's just you and I, and you know, and just, you know, promised me the world, which was what, you know, I had kind of wanted all along, but it was too late. You know, he had to be a recluse. You know, he had to stay in, and I mean, he played with it. He had fun with it.
And I said, Elvis, let's take a walk. So we'll be quietly, and the office is buzzing, and we'll take a walk up the street. He said, I can't take a walk in the street. Are you kidding, Finkel? He said, I'll get mobbed. I can't do that. I said, Elvis, it's you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Take a walk with me. So went down that elevator. Got on the street, walked up the street, people passed us. Nobody said one word or looked at it. They could say, oh, well, that looks like Elvis, but they wouldn't believe that he was out in the street with some guy. So when we came back to the office, he said, gee, that was wonderful. We got to do that every night. Walking in the street was a big thing for him, you know.
I'm sure that Elvis's sharing a bed with his mother until he was well into his teens didn't help his sexual psyche much.
Was he good in bed? He was a great kisser. He was a great kisser. He was very romantic. Some things were a little bit unusual, but there were things that kept him from a normal through line of action in sex. He had phobias and fears of getting women pregnant. It was difficult for him to, I don't want to say it. It was difficult for him to complete the sexual act. You know, he would have to take measures not to get someone pregnant. So there you have it. He still had sexual drive. It was not that fun for me because it had to be spontaneous for him, but it wasn't spontaneous for me, you know. So it was like, okay, he would take the Valium to put him to sleep, and that would make him very amorous. And it would be like, okay, Sheila, Sheila, you're on, boom. And I'm like, You know, and I've been traveling, I've been on the road, I was exhausted. I didn't have 15 people taking care of me. So, you know, it wasn't always fun. And I had this terrible snore at the time, and I fell asleep, and he called the doctor, and he said, Dr. Canner, you know, Sheila, my girlfriend, she's snoring. Yeah, okay, send her right over. So he just took the tonsils out on the spot. So it was just a horrible experience.
Elvis and guns. I've seen him shoot out a TV set. Dr. Nick, who was my doctor for a while, had a joke, and he said that there was like a TV graveyard in the back of Graceland, you know, because he shot so many sets out.
I rented this big house for Elvis in Bel Air, California back in 1961. Beautiful house, big swimming pool in the backyard. So we're sitting around the pool one day, well, somebody had a camera. They dropped the flash bulb, the old flash bulb cameras in those days, into the pool, and it was floating on top of the water. He said, give me a BB gun. I have a BB gun in the house. Go get it. And he shoots at this thing, and it exploded. He said, throw some more in there. So he said, there he started shooting these things. So he said, this is fun. Go out and buy some BB guns. Go get a bunch of them, get a lot of BBs, and get a bunch of flash bulbs. So we started target practicing. Now this stuff is all blowing up and sinking in the bottom of the pool. Well, we went from flash bulbs to little floating boats, to little battery-operated boats. We started blowing up everything inside the swimming pool. By that evening, the bottom of the pool must have had about 6 inches of junk at the bottom. He didn't realize it took me 4 days to get the pool clean. It cost me about $600 to have it cleaned after that. And we spent about $1,000 in junk to do this, but he loved to do this kind of stuff.
Elvis always watched the Johnny Carson show. And on his birthday one night, Johnny Carson came on and said, well, Elvis is fat and 40. And Elvis blew out the screen and said, I don't know why I ever liked that son of a bitch.
Oh my God, look at it, he blew up a television. So what? He didn't buy another television. That's just the way he was. Well, the getting into drugs came slowly. It all actually started from the very beginning was in the Army. The Army, when you're on scouts and maneuvers, they give you these little white dextroamphetamine sulfate. It was like a speed pill to keep you awake. So he took a couple of these and he liked how it made him feel. So when he got out of the service, he took a bunch of them with him. Somebody gave him a bunch of them and he took them with him. So once in a while he started getting tired if we were up late. The next morning he got up early, you were groggy. Took one of those, it pepped you up. So little by little, you find out about other things and you start taking those. And then after you take these too long, you take too many, you can't go to sleep at nighttime. So you turn around and take a sleeping pill. And then it becomes a vicious circle.
Drug use is insidious. You start out with a little bit works, so why not more works better? By the time I met him, he was already at the more works better stage. He used a lot of drugs to sleep and a lot of drugs to put him out right away so that he could rest before a show, and then drugs to wake him up right away so that he can get busy before a show, but he still had drive.
When I got sick here in the hotel, I got sick here that one night. I had 102 temperature. They wouldn't let me perform. From 3 different sources I heard I was strung out on heroin. So I told him earlier, and don't you get offended, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to somebody else. If I find or hear the individual that has said that about me, I'm going to break your goddamn neck, you son of a bitch.
I was to never take heroin. He tried cocaine a couple times, didn't like it. It just made him really weird. Pain medication, all the pain medications, Demerol, Percodan, even Dilaudid, all the pain medications. He did take those. Those are strong pain medications. And sleeping pills, all the sleeping pills, whatever can knock him out. It took a lot to knock him out. Even the strong sleeping pills, he'd be up in 3 hours. He could not, as long as I've known him, all those years, he could not sleep.
Has this sudden notoriety affected your sleep, your appetite, or the size of your head?
Not the size of my head. It's affecting my sleep.
How much sleep do you get?
Oh, I average about 4 or 5 hours a night, I guess.
Is that enough?
Well, it's really not, but I'm used to it, and I can't sleep any longer.
So After a while, that's what happens. You have to keep taking these things. You want, your body says, hey, I need another one. And he just couldn't handle it. Last couple of years was tough. It was really tough. I mean, some of the concerts, we were surprised we got through. I was afraid to faint or fall down or trip or something like that on stage, but you couldn't get him to stop the show. He wouldn't do that, so you had to sit there and keep your fingers crossed, and he got through it. But he just did it automatically. He just went up and did what he had to do.
I've laughed and cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing.
When you're on drugs, your mood change a lot. And Elvis, to me, Elvis was not himself when he was on drugs. Elvis is a different person. And he would change. He would have flashes of mood. He could be mean in a minute and fine the next.
Whenever I would make any demands at all, we would fight, and he'd say, Joe, get the plane, you know, she's leaving. Things like that were difficult in his moods and his anger.
I mean, he tried to hit me with an ashtray one time in Las Vegas. There was a charity event going on, telethon, at the Stardust Hotel. And he said, I'm going to go over there. I said, Elvis, you can't go over there and walk out in this telecast, you know, because he wasn't in good shape. And I wasn't going to let him go there. And he said, I'm going. I said, Elvis, you can't go. Do me a favor. Just don't go. You don't need to go. We got a big argument. And he grabbed an ashtray off the bar. We were talking. He said, I'm going to go, damn it. I'm going to hit you with this damn ashtray. And I said, I looked at him, I said, you really going to hit me with that ashtray? And he looked at it for a minute, and he got mad, and he went back in the bedroom. He didn't come out. So he didn't go. But he would do those things, but if you really got through to him, he would sit and think for a minute, what am I doing here? I'm not going to hit anybody. But he had those moods, it changes, and but that's what drugs do to people. I mean, they're not the same anymore.
I was so exhausted on a tour, and I called the doctor that was attending the tour, Dr. Ghanem, and I said, his first name is Elias. I said, Elias, I'm exhausted. You know, look at me, I'm a wreck. I just need to get home for a few days. Let's say that I have a lump in my breast, you know. So he said, well, I'll have to examine you, and we laughed, and he did. And he said he went to Elvis and told Elvis that I had to go home, and Elvis did not want me to go home. I mean, we were at breakfast, and he was angry. We were on tour. He knew I was leaving, and he threw his bacon and he threw his eggs, and I ran into the bathroom, and he ran after me, and it was one of those accordion doors, you know, in a hotel, the cheap accordion doors. I had really no protection whatsoever, and boom, he comes through it, and you know, just stopped himself in the nick of time.
One time, Ginger's told a story. Ginger was 19 years old when she met him. Elvis had the idea that she was fooling around with her high school boyfriend, and of course Ginger said that she wasn't, but Elvis had his idea. That's what was going on. When Elvis had something on his mind, that's the way it was. So she was going out to her car, and they had a little argument, and he took his Colt 45 out, shot it in the air, and he said, Ginger, if you leave, you don't worry about it. Don't think about coming back. And she just went to her car. She was going to get in. She was ignoring him, and he shot the tires out of the car. And he stomped off and went up to his room. And she said she found him, and he was hiding behind his bed. He was laughing.